Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Jessica Devereaux in Baltimore. According to newly translated documents, China's military wants to put its relatively small nuclear arsenal on hair trigger alert for the first time. Unlike the United States and Russia, China currently keeps its nuclear weapons off alert. Now joining us from Williamsburg, Virginia, to understand the significance of this news is Larry Wilkerson. He is the former Chief of Staff for U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, and he's currently an adjunct professor of government at the College of William and Mary. And of course, he's a regular contributor to The Real News. Thanks for being with us, Larry.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
So, Larry, what's the significance of this news?
I think it's more rhetorical flourishes, dangerous ones, I think, but more rhetorical flourishes than it is substance. Most people who don't know much about nuclear weapons are under the impression that they are in England, France, wherever, under the control of the uniformed militaries. They're not. They're under the control of the civilian authority. There are different methodologies, there are different techniques and procedures for those weapons, should they ever be deployed, and to be used. But civilians control them. The same is true in Israel, as far as I know, though it's a little bit more opaque there. No military controls nuclear weapons unless the civilians release them to the military. In the case of China, I think what we have here is a statement about the readiness of nuclear weapons being changed, and perhaps something might be changed on the ground. But it's really meant to warn the United States, to send a signal to the United States about its freedom of navigation, its freedom of maritime operations at sea, and so forth. Procedures in the South China Sea where we have been more or less challenging. On the other hand, China's assertion that it has built things on these little outcroppings, these little rocks, these little atolls, and therefore those things corroborate ownership and sovereignty, and that increases the EEZ under the Law of the Sea Treaty for China, and therefore gives them more territory that they can claim as their own. This is a very dangerous game we're both playing.
Yeah, and some folks would say it's even more dangerous game because of the way this hair trigger alert system works, because doesn't it mean that a technical glitch or human error could actually cause an accidental launch of a nuclear weapon in response to a false warning? We've had some close calls in the past, like in 1979 at the North American Aerospace Defense Headquarters, and in Russia, back when it was the Soviet Union in the 80s, it faced this type of errors that could have prompted a nuclear launch. So if China is even considering the possibility of using this high alert system, shouldn't we be concerned? Isn't that just one more state actor that could potentially make an error and launch an attack inadvertently?
Jessica, I'm far more concerned about what are rumored to be, and they're strong rumors, nuclear-tipped submarine-launched ballistic missiles on board two Israeli submarines furnished to them by the Germans, sailing around the Eastern Med or even maybe the Northern Indian Ocean that am the Chinese. I'm quite confident that the Chinese have control over their nuclear weapons, and there's always the possibility of a technical glitch or a problem, but there are so many safeguards built into these systems that permissive action links, for example, dual key control, civilian authority necessary to fire, and so forth, that I'm confident that the same procedures, basically safe, that adhered during the Cold War between the two massive stockpiles of the Soviets and the United States will continue to adhere. I'm far more worried about a loose nuke, if you will, a situation where one is in transit or one is not quite as secure as it should be. It's not going to be launched at anyone by an authority, but it's going to be stolen, or it's going to be somehow purloined by some terrorist group that is going to, then use it in some nefarious scheme to kill a lot of people. That, to me, is a lot more troubling. And in that regard, those who don't guard their nuclear weapons quite as assiduously as they should disturb me more than any announcement by China that it's going to go on hair trigger alert with its nuclear weapons.
Yeah, and curbing nuclear proliferation, that was a big policy for the Obama administration. I don't know if you remember the president's speech in Prague in 2009. He declared that he, quote, would see America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. Really high ambitions for the president. How good has the president been on keeping his word to push for nuclear disarmament for the U.S.?
Absolutely lousy. We're going to spend something like $1 trillion plus over the next 30 years to keep the military-industrial nuclear complex alive. And we're going to argue that it's for surety purposes. That means we need to know they'll go off should we use them. And it's going to be argued that it's for safety purposes. That is, that they're not growing so old in the stockpile that they might accidentally explode or whatever. While both of those purposes are legitimate, and both of them do need effort and funds expended, they do not need $1 trillion. We do not need to modernize our nuclear weapon arsenal. What we need to do is reduce it. We did the Moscow Treaty in 2002, and we made a major inroad into that with both the Soviets, the Russians, and us, the two main holders of nuclear weapons in the world. And we needed to continue that progress. There have been analyses done that show, for example, that we and the Russians could probably go down to 300 or 400 and feel very confident that that would deter one or the other or anyone else in the world. That would be a much safer posture and not present some of the problems we've talked about with accidental launch or stealing or whatever. But it looks like now we're going to stay pretty much where we are, maybe even increase a little bit, modernize, make sure they're safe and all those kinds of things, keep the military-industrial nuclear complex alive. And that's just going to incentivize others in the world, I think, to want their own stockpile of nuclear weapons. It's not what the Non-Proliferation Treaty says. We're a signatory to that. It says that in exchange for all these other countries signing the treaty and disavowing ever having nuclear weapons, the great powers, the nuclear powers, the original nuclear powers, Britain, France, the United States, and so forth, will work to get rid of their stockpiles. Well, we're certainly not living up to that aspect of the treaty.
All right, Larry Wilkerson joining us from Williamsburg, Virginia. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.
Let us start our class with a prayer.
In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa, we ask these ancestors to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa and marched down the Nile, laying the foundations for human civilization and culture, we ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of these African ancestors who built their pyramids and their temples to their God concepts, to their principles, and to their moral values, who left us a legacy of architecture and monumental building unparalleled in the history of the world, we ask these ancestors who built the pyramids, who built the temples, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these African ancestors who took this African culture and extended it throughout Africa, building the stone cities of Zimbabwe, building the empires of the Sudan, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, building the Swahili city-states along the east coast of Africa, and in Christian Africa asking King Lalibela and giving him the courage to build the 12 churches of Lalibela from the ground down, monuments to the world. We ask these Africans to spread this culture to the Dogo and to the Akan and to the Yoruba and to the Bankango and to the Zulu. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the Africans who opened up Africa, opened up the Nile Valley to other cultures and other peoples, and they came in and nurtured themselves on the African greatness. First coming in early with the ancient Hebrews, and they synthesized this culture and produced Judaism. Later coming in were the Christians, and they synthesized this culture and produced Christianity. Coming in were also the Greeks, who took the African culture, synthesized it, and produced Greek civilization. And then later, the Prophet Muhammad, and with the Arabs coming into the Nile Valley, they synthesized the culture and produced Islam. We ask these African ancestors, who as part of their legacy laid the foundations for Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Greek civilization, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask those African ancestors pulled out of Africa, taken to the hells of North America, South America, the Caribbean, maintaining the spirit of African humanity in their hearts and in their minds, and who left us this enormous legacy of struggle. We ask those Africans who resisted enslavement in the villages of Africa, who resisted enslavement in the shores of Africa, who resisted enslavement in those forts and dungeons, who resisted enslavement in the holds of those ships, who resisted enslavement when they arrived on these shores in the New World. We ask these Africans who ran into the highlands of northeast Brazil and established for 100 years the first free republic in the Americas, the Republic of Palmares, and their last great leader, Zumbi, whose spirit and sacrifice. We asked these Africans who replicated the Brazilian experience and went into the highlands of Jamaica and became the maroon-free communities. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of the Guyanas and Suriname and created free republic of the Suramaka and the Ajuka. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of Georgia and the swamps of Florida and moved with the Seminole Indians and resisted oppression. We ask these Africans who left us a legacy of struggle and resistance, the likes of which no one in the world has, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who created and laid for us a foundation of struggle and resistance that was passed on generation after generation, that was passed on to Harriet Tubman, who fought her way out of enslavement and became a symbol of freedom for all of us. Similarly, Frederick Douglass and hundreds of thousands of others fought their way out of enslavement. We asked those Africans who went with Boukman Dessalines to create the greatest revolutionary experience in the history of the world, the Haitian Revolution, leaving us a legacy, the likes of which no one else has had. We asked these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future.
Black power! 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 Black power!
We are Africans not because we were born in Africa. We are Africans because Africa was born in us. Africa was born in us. In this space, in the words of Kwame Ture, we cannot fail our ancestors. We are not ever to be caught up in the intellectual masturbation of a question of black power. We're not fighting for the right to integrate. We're defending ourselves against white supremacy, regardless of how it is packaged. You must have heard the news by now. You must have heard by now. Even though the Guyana government has not yet released the report on the Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney, the report has been leaked. The report has been leaked, and what we are gathering coming out of Guyana and now the international media from around just after midnight on Friday, before day Saturday morning, all the way. There's been a flurry of activities and a flurry of correspondence back and forth. And we were calling each other and talking to each other on the phone. because the International Commission of Inquiry set up to investigate the death of Working People's Alliance WPA leader Dr. Walter Rodney has concluded what has long been believed by many. That is, without any doubt, the Forbes-Burnham-led People's National Congress, PNC government, and other agencies operating on behalf of the state were responsible for the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. According to the Commission of Inquiry final report, which was leaked, Dr. Rodney was killed as part of a state-organized assassination with the knowledge of then Prime Minister Forbes Burnham, with attempts made by state security forces at the time to shield and protect the man thought to be directly responsible for carrying out the assassination, Gregory Smith. So that's a breaking news before day Saturday morning. We heard that the report, which has not yet been officially published or released by the Guyana government, has been leaked, and that the Commission of Inquiry has found the Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney had found that Dr. Walter Rodney was victim of state-organized killing, and that Forbes Burnham had to have known that Gregory Smith was not acting alone, but had the active and full support, participation and encouragement of and or was aided and abetted by the GPF, the GDF, agencies of a state, and the political directorate in the killing of Dr. Walter Rodney. That is a finding of a Commission of Inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. As I said, as I wrote in the Justice for Walter Rodney social media space, we will not go gently into the night. We will not go quietly into the night. Justice for Walter Rodney, what does that look like? And does it end with a report from the Commission of Inquiry? What does this mean? And there are other questions to be asked.
Black power! 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 Black power!
It's the sound of Margaret Menendez. You know, we've been doing this all month. We've been doing this all month as part of African History Month, looking at the African musical retention in the African diaspora. And we started off with the Afro-Cuba rhythms, and then we moved into African Haitian rhythms, and now we're going to Afro-Brazilian rhythms. And this, of course, is Margaret Menendez. As a matter of fact, for most people, the idea of Black History Month, and this is true, is usually centered around the African American experience. And here in Jamaica, in recent times, we're focusing more on even Caribbean and Jamaican experience. But there's not much focus in this part of the world when we talk about African History Month on Brazil. Brazil being the central link in the Middle Passage. Brazil having the largest population of African diasporic African origin outside of Africa, estimated at 90 million people. Margaret Menezes. You know, this used to be one of the songs that we played in the 90s a whole lot on this program. I haven't played it in a long time, but hey, sometimes we do go back to the source. So let's do that. Sankofa. It's a confirmation that we're going to have to return to the source. Look again at Queen Amose. Certainly going to be doing that. Very important to do so. That story from March Against Monsanto.com, posted on Kwame Pianke's Facebook page, says that a court has ruled that French professor Guy-Eric Serayine was correct when he concluded that GMO food, when fed to rats, caused serious health problems, including tumors. And it says that the professor is in the news again, this time for winning a major court victory in a trial that represents a second court victory for Serayine and his team in less than a month. November 25, the High Court in Paris indicted Mark Fellows, the former chairman of an engineering commission for forgery, etc. All right, so we're going to be looking at that story. Headline: Scientists who discover that GMOs cause tumors wins lawsuit. Going to be following that one. If you're following here on the island in Jamaica, if you're following closely the U.S. pre-presidential race, if you're following that, well, if you are, I suppose you're excited at different points or not. Lots of discussions around the black vote, the so-called black vote, the African-American vote, and we see a lot of the considered great civil rights leaders who have lined up behind Hillary Clinton. They must know. And then we have others, more radical, not so mainstream, who have lined up behind Bernie Sanders. It doesn't matter to me. And I tell you why. And I said the very same thing in the Barack Obama-Hillary Clinton race and incurred the wrath of many Pan-Africanists in Jamaica and outside of Jamaica. But I say it, and I say it again. Being a president of the United States has nothing to do with what you personally believe or who you are. It's an institution that is controlled otherwise. And whoever you are, you go into that already exists or is reforming and recreating itself. So white privilege, white supremacy, imperialism, the militarization of African waters and Caribbean waters don't matter. I mean, these are the systems, these are the structures that you come into, an already existing one that you swear to protect. So it is what it is. It really doesn't matter. And until we see a change to that system of white supremacy, then we can begin to have that conversation. But like the Black Lives Matters group continue to say, issues like Guantanamo Bay and the return of confiscated land to the people of Cuba. The U.S. president is going to Cuba. Will be the first time a U.S. president will be visiting Cuba since 1928. Barack Obama, along with his wife, will be going to Cuba March 2021, 22 or thereabouts. A symbolic gesture. And then there are lots of conversations about why he's doing this, and saying that it's about his legacy. Yes, I think that's part of it. I think when you're looking at this, you have to bring that into consideration. That's about his legacy also. And yeah, but we must also look at China. And I really think that there is an underestimation of how the U.S. and the Western powers are viewing China in Africa and China in the Caribbean. If there's one country in which China has a foothold and in which the Cold War that's now ongoing between the West and China is being fought, it's right in the Caribbean waters here in Cuba. So that the visit to Cuba is also part of that. We're going to be exploring these once we get through some of the silliness that's happening around us, elections here in Jamaica, fighting one another for the power and the glory, and as our Uncle Ernest Smith says, while Jack Kingdom goes to waste, focus is on that right now. Large motorcades moving into Montego Bay and moving into Kingston and moving into different places across Jamaica. And it's just pure madness on the ground here in Jamaica. Tension, yes. The slinging of mud back and forth. Painful to realize that after 54 years of independence, that the fortunes of the black masses remain virtually unchanged, irrespective of the party in power. Landlessness, despite the abundance of crown lands. Poverty in the abundance of wealth, and it's a conundrum as you go across Jamaica. Hopelessness, born from decades of empty promises. Have you read the manifestos? Have you read the manifestos of both parties? Empty promises from both sides. It's a two-headed monster. Two heads talking out of two sides, both sides of their mouths. One heart, one plan. So the questions arise about the house being built by the opposition leader, and he threw back some about Finsac, and they sling mud left, right, and center, and congratulate themselves. Slaps on the back, because my mud sticks more than your mud, and they threaten each other with lawsuits. But it's all part of the bigger con. And there is a con. And that's why they are both accusing each other of conmanship and conwomanship. That's why they're both doing it. Because there is a con. Just make sure you're not convicted in what they're telling you, or converted to what they are telling you, because it's all a con. They have shown us time and time again that they're not going to change. PNP or JLP, don't matter. It is what it is. Majority African people are caught up in the poverty swirl and the poverty cycle and the cycles of poverty. What's for us to do but to organize, but to unite? Unite to change, to be the change that we want in our lives and in our children's lives. It is now 142 days 142 days. We're counting. Who's counting? I'm counting. It is now 142 days since one of the chief advisors to the Minister of Education, one of the chief advisors in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Franklin Johnson, declared that CARICOM's reparations brief is a Ponzi. Mocked the reparations movement, accused Africans of selling Africans into slavery without the proper interrogation of that. And there needs to be. 142 days. As the Black Lives Matter group in America have demanded, we too have been demanding and continue to demand full reparations for all descendants of a transatlantic trade in Africans. But like Black Lives Matter, we also assert that true revolutionary and systemic change will only come about from the ordinary working people, from you, from me, from students and youth organizing, marching if we have to march, and taking power from the corrupt elites. Whether it is JLP or PNP, we know that none of them will upend the oppressive structures that maintain it. Like Black Lives Matter, we must continue to build power in the streets. Black power in the streets. Holding people accountable for their oppressive actions. So yes, we want answers to FinSAC, and yes, we want to know about offshore companies that politicians are forming while keeping the laws stringent and strict so that you can't do the same. While they tax the hell out of you and me, they avoid taxes by forming offshore companies and pretending that because you're doing it and I'm doing it, it's okay. Because the JLP politicians are doing it, and because PNP politicians are doing it, it is okay. We must listen to the silence in between the JLP and the PNP when they talk or not talk about who owns offshore companies and how they are maintaining that. We must listen to the silence in between the spaces when Delano Franklin shuts up and when the opposition leader quiets down. We must ask, we must interrogate those spaces in which they are no longer talking. It's the silence that we must be very afraid of, because it is within those spaces that they are overseeing some of the most oppressive structures. Their boots in the necks of the masses of the African people in Jamaica. It is within the silence we demand an end to the oppression of black people in Jamaica. Let us do this. Let's do this, Jamaica. Let's do this, African people. Are you ready? Are you ready, African people? Are you ready to fire plantations like Taki? you've been hearing on this station and also following us on the social media, Justice for Walter Rodney, plus our personal social media pages, we have been talking about the leaked Commission of Inquiry report into the assassination of our ancestor elder Dr. Walter Rodney. I'm joined on the phone lines now by daughter of Dr. Walter Rodney, Asha Rodney, who herself is an attorney at law based in Atlanta. Good morning, my dear sister. Good morning. Welcome to the Africa Forum.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Very happy that you could join us, and wants immediately to say to you and to your family that we must commend you for standing on this and standing up to all the different factors that you've been facing over the many years to get to this place, a commission of inquiry, and then a report handed in. What is your first reaction to the leaked report that the Forbes-Burnham government was integrally and had to be integrally involved in the assassination of Dr. Rodney?
Well, first of all, let me say that the report has been leaked, but the family is not going to comment on the substance of the report itself. And as I'm sure your audience would agree, it's not fair to either side, not to the family or to anyone that's named in the document, not to have an opportunity for everyone to read the facts, to read the evidence that was submitted, and to look at what the findings and conclusions were. So to the extent we are talking about a report that has been seen by some but not all, it's very difficult for us, one, because we're not sure that the contents that have been leaked are all of the contents, and the contents are necessarily correct. So as a family, we are just waiting for the actual report to be released so that we can see it and read it and review it for ourselves.
And that makes a lot of sense. Understood. Talk to us a little bit about the process that got and the work that the family has been doing, along with so many others, of course, but the process that got us even to the Commission of Inquiry. How difficult was that?
I mean, the family has been fighting for an inquiry into my father's assassination as soon as he was assassinated. So this has been a very long and protracted process. And when I say the family, his family, my mother, Dr. Patricia Rodney, my brother, Shaka Rodney, and my sister. But in addition to the family, we've had support throughout the years, varied support from a number of different parties. And in Guyana, in the region, and throughout the world. So there's been lots of calls for an investigation. Unfortunately, we've had certain types of investigations that were not done very well. Of course, you know that this is not the first investigation that was done. This is just the first comprehensive investigation that was done. So I would say since 1980, when Daddy was assassinated, we have been calling for a commission of inquiry.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And finally, one, we know that towards the end there were some issues in terms of how the report was handed in and so on, and that conversation continues. Your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very, very disappointing from the perspective of, definitely from the perspective of a legal professional. These are commissioners who are of the highest legal merit in the Caribbean and would be seen that way whether they're practicing in the region or internationally, and of the highest standards. And it's overwhelming to me that they would be placed in a situation where the report would be handed over in that manner. Mm-hmm. And it didn't start from the report being handed over. I think the attitude towards the commissioners started even during the Commission of Inquiry itself. Mm-hmm. But this combination of the abrupt end to the commission, the way in which it was done, also the denial of the time to submit the actual report, considering the wealth of information that the commissioners had to review, the closing of the office so that there's no staff and the staff aren't paid. It's just a lot of things that were done that were absolutely not commensurate with these commissioners, the Secretariat itself, the Secretariat's attorneys, or the staff. So the whole process, this is a culmination of a process that should be questioned.
Are you hearing anything in terms of what the plans are in publishing the report, in releasing the report?
We have not had much communication no communication with the government, and we've definitely had no commission with the Secretariat itself, because the Secretariat was closed, to the best of our understanding. And since that time, there has been no consistent or any relationship at all with respect to the formality of the process. And, of course, our attorneys and other attorneys would have written to the Secretariat and probably received the same response, or responses or lack of responses. So I would say no. It was our original understanding. And, of course, this inquiry was done under the auspices of the prior President, Donald Ramatar, who was the one that actually seated this commission. So at that time, it was our understanding that the report would have been submitted to the president, as it was his inquiry, but that at that time, the family and all the attorneys, and then, of course, the public would have access to the report. We're hoping that that is still the case, and that we should have a copy of the report shortly. I'm not sure what the delay is. I'm not sure if there's any internal processes. We have not been given any timeline with respect to the report. I would say that prior to the report being submitted, there was a huge rush for the commissioners to complete their report and submit it. It was, the perception was that the commissioners were being dilatory and not completing the report. So for the report to have been submitted and not released as a courtesy, definitely to the family and to those who are similarly situated to us, to counsel that have been involved in this case, it's very difficult. So we do not have an exact timeline, and what we would ask for is the report to be released. We know it has to go through the formal protocol, but we would ask that the report be released as soon as possible.
And I know this must also be difficult for your family, for yourself, for Dr. Rodney, your mother. This must be a difficult period also.
Absolutely. It's been a difficult period since my father was assassinated. It will not, it will continue to be difficult. Just having, reports floating around that we're not sure, all the findings is difficult. And even I think when the report is submitted and we have a chance to read it, it's going to be difficult, because this is, my father gave his life for this country, and there are others who were also in the same situation who have not been named necessarily, and justice hasn't been done for them. And our lives have been changed in a way that can't be undone. This is a bell that has already been rung. And so it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. What it does do, though, it offers some hope of justice. And the hope of justice will heal, lots of wounds over time. But I think this is going to be a protracted process, and particularly with whatever those findings will be, it's going to be a difficult process as well as a challenge, because there's a lot more that needs to be done. And don't forget, my Uncle Donald, he's convicted. He has a conviction that's been pending, and those are, there's a lot that has to be done once this report is actually formalized and submitted to the people of Guyana.
And finally, Asha, you mentioned justice and the hope of justice. What would justice look like for Walter Rodney and for the others?
That's a very good question. And I don't know what all the answers are. I think justice is, it's a huge pie. There's so many different slices of things that have to occur. And a lot of it is going to be based on the evidence. I will tell you that even during the terms of this inquiry, we were privy to information that came from witnesses who submitted statements and came before this commission that we didn't even know some of the smaller details. But justice on its face, I would say definitely that the criminal conviction of Donald Rodney, that been removed from his record. And, he was offered a presidential pardon, which he did not take under the prior administration because he's innocent. And he did not want to make those terms murky. So that is definitely at the top of our list. My father's death certificate, reads that he, death by misadventure. That's something that's very important to us to have corrected. Those two things I think are minimal for the family at this point. We'd like to secure the records from the Commission of Inquiry because there were many, many witnesses who did not appear before the Commission because of time, people who would have submitted statements that were not heard. So we want to really understand what happened in Guyana and have there's a huge divide in Guyana about this Commission of Inquiry. I don't think it's going to go away with the report itself, but it's going to go away with the report itself. But there's lots of different stratifications internally in the country as well as externally, meaning people who live abroad. And I'm hoping that this commission and its report will do something towards healing those relationships, whether they be political relationships, whether they be along racial lines, whatever those relationships are. It would bode well that this report would help Guyanese understand the time and understand that history cannot continue to repeat itself, that we have to make sure that we are humans first and that we treat each other decently. And I think this report will show what was happening at the time that people don't truly understand. I think unless you lived in Guyana during that time period, it's almost unbelievable the things that happened during that time. So I'm hoping that this report will put an end to some of the questions because there would have been lots of factual findings, lots of evidence that would have been reviewed by this a great legal team and tested by legal counsel, including ours.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Asha Rodney. We really, really appreciate you taking the time out to come on so early in the morning and to talk to us about your father and also about the Commission of Inquiry report that we all await. Thank you so much, my sister.
Thank you. And what we would do again is call for the release of the report. So if your audience is listening in this morning, thank you for being here. And that is our goal at this point, just to have the report so everyone can review it and reflect on it.
Thank you so much. My regards to your family.
Thank you so much.
All right. That is Asha Rodney, the eldest daughter of Dr. Walter Rodney.
Keisha, let me $2,000 till weekend now.
Lord Richie, man, you ever in a money problem?
But I can't do no better. The little amount when I get to pay a week time, plus the impact with the sliding dollar off on me, it really have me a waste star. Imagine, I got a supermarket the other day, and God bless what my little $3,000 could have buy.
You're right, Richie, cause me see 2 baskets on TV one night here, and you want to see how the 2016 food basket little when me compare to the 2011 food basket. Me couldn't believe see so much value the money really lose in the little 4 years.
And me fi tell you, this devaluation policy now work out at all. Me couldn't tell when last me buy a tin of bully beef, condensed milk, or some mixed parts. Right now, a chicken neck and fish back enough away I fi work with. So what you say? You gonna lend me the money?
All right.
Politician, GLP, PNP, me go say it again, and me not stop say it. The Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party is the worst thing happened to Jamaica. The Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party is the worst thing happened to Jamaica.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. I'm going to go back to the phone lines now to speak with Attorney at Law Richard Small. Richard Small, as you know, served as a lawyer for Walter Rodney during his arson trial in 1979. And we're also joined on the phone lines by Wazir Mohammed, who is no stranger to this program. Neither of them are actually, especially at this time of the morning, because since April 2014, we have been speaking with both Richard Small once and Wazir Mohammed throughout the time leading up to now regarding the Commission of Inquiry. Both gentlemen join me on the phone line. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Wazir.
Morning. Morning, Andrea.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna start with you, Wazir, because we have been talking about this for many moons now, and within the last few months, almost every Sunday you have been on in this space looking at the Commission of Inquiry and talking about whether or not the report will be released and when. Now there is a leak, and we heard Asha Rodney saying just now that is what it is. It's a leak, and so that there is this reluctance, and understandably so, to talk too much about it. Your own reading of this right now?
Look, we welcome the fact, as I said earlier in the week, we welcome the fact that the commissioners have completed the work, and would like to thank them for the work that they've done. We are disturbed about the process of handing over and how that unfolded. The important thing is that there is a report of the inquiry, and this report, we believe, the government should release immediately. Furthermore, a copy of this report should be given to the family. This should be the normal practice. We do believe that this report should also be laid immediately in Parliament of Guyana, because all three major political parties in Guyana at one time or the other had supported, all the major political parties at one time or the other supported the holding of an inquiry. So we would like to see the report made public, the report published by the government of Guyana, and be made available to the press, be made available to the public at large, so that people can read and analyze the report.
Richard, I know none of us have seen the document itself, the report itself, but we have been reading the newspaper articles. Thanks to Wazir for publishing so many of those on the Justice for Walter Rodney Facebook page. How curious is it, do you think, that the report was handed in a few weeks ago, about 2 or so weeks ago, Wazir, isn't it? And still, yes. And so we haven't heard, Richard, we don't know when this is going to be published and or made available by the government. Do you find this curious in any way?
Yes, it is curious, because the nature of a commission of inquiry is in fact to report to the public on the circumstances of Walter's death and whatever conclusions that the commission makes within its terms of reference. The commission of inquiry was held in public. Its evidence was heard everywhere throughout the world, and the report is the culmination of that. And the whole idea of the commission of inquiry is to investigate and to report, so that the government has an obligation to publish that report and also to debate the report, have the report laid in Parliament, and to debate and take action as recommended by the commissioners.
Before we go back to Wazir to talk about some of what has been leaked, from a legal perspective, Richard, which you didn't come here as, but thank you so much for being an attorney on the line. How seriously should, you've been looking at the stories, how seriously do you think we can treat the leaked report?
Well, the leaked report is all that is available, and therefore in my view, it's quite appropriate to point out what seems to be the general direction of the Commission's findings. But really, the leaked report highlights the fact that the report has not been published, and the report ought to be published. We should never be placed in a position where we have to rely on leaked reports.
Yes.
But if the formal report is not released, then it's going to be an inevitable consequence that there are going to be leaked reports, and there's going to be discussion about it.
Was there obviously it seems this report was leaked to a newspaper. Do we know of any other sources who have seen this? I think is it Starbuck? Is that what it's called?
Well, Starbuck News, but there are several news agencies in Guyana that has reported on this leak. We're not certain that it was only seen by the Starbuck News.
Okay.
It was reported in Tamara Waves. It was reported on iNews. It was reported on News Source. All these three are news agencies out of Guyana. It was reported online by a website that I've seen called Citizens Report Guyana. They actually have on that website some photographs of sections of the report.
Okay.
So we don't know exactly how many people have seen the report, but we are seeing multiple reports from news institutions talking about what is in the report.
And basically, in terms of the leak itself, what are we learning from the report?
Wazir, you want to talk?
Yes, Wazir, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What are we learning from the report?
Yes, from the leaked report. Yes.
Based on the leak, we're learning about the way in which the state and government from at the highest level had complete control over country and the state security agencies, and that nothing could happen without the knowledge of the head of state and and those higher up in the echelons of the state. We're learning about the way party paramountcy therefore ruled whatever decision-making process existed at the time. We're learning about how this kind of approach to government or governance affected the police force and state security agencies, in relationship to how it dealt with political opponents and the citizenry at large. These are very important things because if a state and a country was socialized in this way, where a party leader or party members had more power than the people who were supposed to protect the population or to enforce the Constitution, that something is basically wrong and was basically wrong. And so, the report as leaked is pointing in the direction of that people at the highest level of government had knowledge of what was going on and of the killing of Walter Rodney.
How damning is this report, Richard, on the Forbes Burnham led PNC?
Well, the report makes a specific finding that Forbes Burnham, who was Prime Minister and head of the government at the time, must have been known and involved in the conspiracy to kill Walter Rodney. The report also finds that he was killed by an agent of the state, a member of the Guyana Defense Force, and that right after Walter was killed, that member of the Guyana Defense Force, Gregory Smith, was whisked out of the country by Guyana Defense Force plane and had a change in identity arranged by the police, and it examined the documents that were used to change his identity. It also examined the removal of his girlfriend and children, and also another girlfriend of his was also whisked out of the country and taken to America and to Canada, and was appointed in the diplomatic service. And it also makes findings that Gregory Smith, the man who had arranged the killing of Walter, came back into Ghana on at least 2 occasions and was not questioned or arrested or investigated. So,
and there was a warrant for his arrest.
But yes, there was a warrant for his arrest. And also, they also make two significant findings that of the involvement of Burnham by quoting a speech that Burnham made in which he said openly that the WPA, that is the Working People's Alliance, that is the political organization of which Walter was a part, a founder and a leader, that they should write their wills, and that the PNC was in a deadly battle with them, and that it was a battle that the PNC, it was a battle to the death. Those are the words of the Prime Minister. And that it was a battle that the PNC would survive. So, I mean, there's no doubt at all about the public threatening nature of the Burnham regime towards the WPA. And another finding which I thought was also significant is that they quote from the writings, the published writings of the now President Granger, where he talked about at the time he was head of the army, the paramountcy of the PNC over the army. And he spoke openly about it, and openly about why it was necessary and, justified. So that is among the findings.
And why is that significant? And why is that significant?
Well, because the doctrine of paramountcy was that the defense force were subject to the political direction of the PNC. I mean,
and they had to pledge loyalty.
And had to pledge loyalty, and the head of the army would attend the PNC congresses in uniform and declare loyalty, and that was done every year. And in addition, the Prime Minister Burnham would attend public functions of the Guyana Defense Force dressed up in army uniform. So that was laying the basis for the concept that the army was subordinate to the political party of the PNC. And this was coming from the mouth of Granger, the head of the army, who is now the president to whom this report has been made. Well, then it is vital that that report and those findings and that review should be available to the public for consideration, and that there should be some kind of public and state and parliamentary review of those findings.
In terms of, was there the Justice for Walter Rodney committee? And I hear the call being reiterated. We heard from Asha and we hear it from Richard just now. But we've been asking this question. We asked it from day one. That so what would that look like? So here we have the report. I'm sure for many of us, not many surprises. But what then? Is this enough? Would this then represent justice for Walter?
No, it can't. It can't by itself represent justice. There are several demands which was there should talk about.
Yes. Was there?
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, this is the beginning of the process. I mean, the report, as we said, needs to be laid before Parliament, needs to be released, needs to be given to the family. And needs the wider public, both in Guyana and the Caribbean and the world, needs to have access to the report. Because the Justice for Walter Rodney will be served when everybody understands the circumstances of this killing. But we have to understand that it was not a killing. It had to do with the nature of politics and the nature of the state. Justice would only be served when there is a concerted effort to address the way the state operates in relationship to how it addresses political opponents and how it addresses the needs of the working people. So, I mean, when we have to talk about justice for Walter Rodney in a much more broad way. The report gives us an indication of the nature of the moment, of what was going on, of the structure of relations in the country, of how the state operated. But the report itself should help us to reflect on what aspects of those relations are still present. And if those relations are still present, then we should find a way to reform relations, to reform the state, so that no leader, no person who is in opposition or who have an opposing viewpoint should be treated in this way. This is the release of this report would I think bring an end to one phase of the chapter for justice for Walter Rodney. It would end, I think, the calls that we have been making for 36 years for such a process to unfold. And from the beginning, we have said that we are happy that the report is in. We are happy that for the first time there is a report, but there is unfinished business. The question of justice for Donald Rodney is important and cannot be forgotten.
Yes.
The unjust charges against Donald Rodney should be removed. There should be remedy on this process and relief for Donald Rodney. Has also suffered for the last 36 years. And Richard, I think, was one of the lawyers who represented Walter and understand some of these issues in finer ways.
Richard, I'm going to give you the final word. I'm so sorry that we're out of time, but it is obviously something that we have to revisit once the report is published, and I'm sure every week there's a development, so we'll talk again. But your final thoughts on what we're learning so far and where we are on this, the Commission of Inquiry report.
Well, the leak report indicates the involvement of the state. And it's not just the abstract state. It is specific persons have been named. And I think that represents an advance in our discovering and discussing what took place in 1980. Yes. And it's a very, very important step, and I think the government has a duty to publish a report just to develop the argument.
All right. Thank you so much, Richard Small. Thank you so much, Wazir Mohammed, and we'll talk again soon. All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Richard Small there, attorney at law, represented Walter Rodney during his arson trial, the arson trial against him in 1979, and Wazir Mohammed, as you know, of the Justice for Walter Rodney Commission, but Wazir Mohammed also an assistant professor of sociology at Indiana University East and chair of the Richmond Human Rights Commission. We're following this closely. We have been following this very, very closely since April 2014 and long before that, but especially since the Commission of Inquiry was set up. And we'll continue to follow this. We join with the family, with the Justice for Walter Rodney Committee to call on the government of Guyana to make the report available, to release the report to the family and to the wider community. The Africa Youth Forum members are already in the house. This week, they are the lower fifth form students of the Foreign Court High School in Clementon St. Anne. Michael MacDonald, the head boy. Talia Morris, the head girl. Julissa Wright, senior prefect. Delicia Wilson, senior prefect. Latricia Hall, Student Council President, Davine Scott, Vice President of the Student Council, along with their teachers, Marsha Grant Palmer and Jade Cross and Latoya Gelzine. All right, so I'm going to turn it over now to the students of Foreign Court High School, along with their teachers. Who will be leading the discussion?
Latricia.
Okay, Latricia, there you go. All right, so I'm turning it over to you. It is yours. It is all yours. Go right ahead. The Africa Youth Forum.
All right, good morning, Jamaica. My name is Latricia Hall, Student Council President of the Foreign Court High School, Regional Vice President under the National Secondary Students Council, Wycliffe Ambassador, I Believe Ambassador, that's under the Governor General I Believe Initiative.
My name is Thalia Morris. I'm the head girl of Foreign Court High School. I'm also a Governor General I Believe Ambassador. I am the winner. I was the winner of the JTB 60th Anniversary Essay Competition.
My name is Jilla Sarai, and I'm a senior prefect of the Foreign Court High School.
My name is Zelisa Wilson, and I'm also a senior prefect of the Foreign Court High School.
Good morning, Jamaica. My name is Michael MacDonald. I'm the head boy for the Foreign Court High School. I'm also a Governor General, I Believe Ambassador. I'm a part of the Business Quiz team, the Tourism, Astronomy and Camera Club, and the Spanish Club.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Davine Scott. I am the Vice President for the Student Council, and I'm now vying for the Vice President of the Regional Second Students Council.
All right, so this morning, our theme or topic is politicians should be held accountable for their actions. Guys, do you think politicians should be held accountable for their actions?
Yes, of course.
Yes, frankly speaking, we often sing in our national anthem, "Give us vision lest we perish." Now, as young people of this country, I think they should have plans in place for us because we are the vision of this country, and a country without a vision shall surely perish.
And this is where the manifesto comes in. All right, the manifesto simply entails what the MPs, the plans that they have for each constituency, and what the prime ministers or opposition leader have for the country, right? And if they don't have a plan, the manifesto, it needs to be transparent. The citizens of this country need to know the plans that they have, and it should be stated clearly.
That is true. Guys, what is your feedback on this?
Well, as you said before, I believe that the MPs and also the opposition leader, the Prime Minister, their manifesto should be transparent. They should also be accountable, as you said before, because you can't have politicians that are promising things to different constituencies and not fulfilling their promises. Because last night, I saw an ad on television with Dr. Peter Phillips saying that citizens should not trust the Jamaica Labour Party because they are filled with empty promises. And I'm saying, yes, probably they have empty promises, but don't the PNP, don't they have empty promises as well? Because you cannot throw accusations saying that the JLP, they have no plan, when citizens outside in Jamaica, in the public, are saying that the JLP's manifesto is clearer than the PNP's manifesto, because the PNP, yes, they are promising jobs. The finance minister is saying that over a 5-year period, 100,000 jobs will be available. And they're only promising jobs right now, but the JLP is promising that, okay, at a certain over a certain period of time, income tax will be removed from all civil servants, the pay, the student loans will be at a lower interest rate, etc.
My question now, as it relates to income tax, when they do this, how will they get back some amount of money? Don't you think that they're going to be increasing GCT on like food items and all of that? Don't you think so?
Of course, they'll have to get the money from somewhere, and they can't take it back from the civil servants, because the JLP says that they're shaving off like about $18,000 off the pays of civil servants, right?
Yes, and my question to the government is, where will that money come from?
And if they don't have any money for substitution in a sense, right? The economy will eventually fall.
To go lower than where it is now.
Yes. Davin, Jalissa, what is your take on this?
Well, my take, I would go to the mining and like the cockpit country, because the government now finish all its natural resources and only have like the cockpit. And if they mine out all natural resources in the cockpit country, what will they do after? How will Jamaica be a better country? Because the cockpit country produce at least 40%.
They supply 40% of Jamaica's
water, right? So I don't know, really.
That is really an issue as well.
Back to the politicians now. This morning we discussed that the fact that most politicians, when they're in the House of Parliament, they some of them are a bit disrespectful to each other, because you know that, for example, last month when Dr. Edward Warmington
and Lisa Hanna,
he called Lisa Hanna a Jezebel, and I'm saying, how is it that they're politicians and they're expecting us to look up to them as leaders of the country, if they are displaying this behavior in the House of Parliament?
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
I think there should be sanctions for that, and not like after they do it a couple of times. I think they should do like on the first time, because I heard he did something like that already.
Yes, this is not the first time that he has.
He should be sanctioned on the first charge, and not like when they go to the House of Parliament. they should be like on suspension or something.
They should be suspended from their duties, right? Like, for instance, when you have like a parliamentary meeting, they can be in the meeting, but they won't be able to like share their views or their opinions or otherwise. They just have to sit and listen to what other MPs are saying.
I agree with that. Politicians are supposed to respect each other because when they behave like this in parliament,
what message is sending to the
message
youth?
is it sending to us?
Exactly.
All right. They're only encouraging us to mimic them on social media. That is basically the message that I'm getting from this. They're only encouraging us to mimic them on social media because if they don't respect each other, how are we going to respect them? What example are they setting for us?
And it's simply saying that we as citizens of this country should respect each other either, because if they are not showing each other respect as elders and members of parliament, what should citizens do? If they are not doing good, why should we do it? That's how I really see it.
For the sanctions now, as Taylor said, this is where we should have a body, right?
Continue on that, Taylor.
All right, like the body now, like how the teachers have the JTC and they have to answer to that board, and the school also has a board. I think the MPs should have a board that
they should answer to.
Yes, that assesses them at the end of each term. And for the empty promises that Delicia said, they can assess them on that as well, because if they don't fulfill, if they don't keep up on a promise, they need the board to
hand down sanctions.
Yes.
Yes, I think so. Suppose they continue to do this, like disrespecting each other over and over, and not fulfilling their promises.
I think the board could. The board could inform the public on the sanctions before they happen, and inform the MPs as well, so that they know what will happen if they don't fulfill their promises. The other day, Latricia was saying that you can basically get rid of an MP by persons in the constituency putting together $10,000 on lobbying, right? Yeah.
Because most MPs, right, they only come to their constituency when it's election time. If you're only going to come when it's election time, it spells no sense. The citizens of this country don't only need to see you when it's election time. We need to see you otherwise, not when it's only election time when you want a vote.
Yes, because you have MPs for certain constituencies that they only show up when it's drawing close to elections. And when they show up, they come and they are giving out handouts. So yes, it draws the people, because for a poor person in a community, getting a little handout from
$10,000.
Exactly. For example, a poor mother getting some money from the MP will actually
they're
persuade
actually
them
bribing
to vote.
them. That's bribe.
Yes, it's a bribe, but that's what they are doing now, because most constituencies in St. Anne, the MPs, they don't show up until it's and even if they do show up, they only stay like for a couple minutes, and then they're off. They're gone to Kingston, so they're not really staying with the community.
And I think that the MPs should like visit the schools more often, because there's many youths in the country and don't know their MPs and so forth.
Yeah, that's true, because the other day I asked a student, right, who is the MP of the constituency. They have no idea. All right, they give us pure empty promises. We need to see them physically done. They're saying that they're going to give us roads, water, etc. When they don't do it, only when it's close to election time, you see them like put mall and all of that on the road. When the rain fall, it eventually just wash off. Nothing happened.
And this is when the board comes in for like the politicians that they have the promises and they don't fulfill them. The board should be there that, okay, at the end, if the politician says that at the end of a certain period of time that they're going to give the constituency better roads or more water, if at the end of this period they have not done this, then that is when the board will come in and hand out sanctions to them, because they cannot have a politician not fulfilling promises, and when they don't fulfill it, it's just swept under the carpet.
That is why we need to hold them accountable. For example, in the United States of America, they have they're supposed to do a manifesto, and they do debates there also. And basically, when they outline things, when they outline their objectives throughout the tenure, and they don't do it, they hold them accountable. So I'm saying Jamaicans need to stand up and hold the politicians accountable. They need to. We need to hold them accountable, because what we don't understand, if we don't vote, no parties.
Exactly. If we don't step up and talk, then there won't be any change, because if we're just sitting at home and saying, okay, our MP said that we're going to get roads, and then at the end of this period, nothing happens, and you're just going to sit at home and say, oh, probably next time or whatever. You have to do something. You cannot vote in this MP again if you know that there's not going to be a change.
I think the reason why they vote in the same MP over and over is because they're either diehard to JLP
or bandwagonists.
Yes,
because
that too.
You have the people that are saying, or for example, tradition. You have the people that are saying, oh, because my mother was a PNP, I'm a PNP as well. They're not looking to the side that saying, if the PNP is doing anything for the country, they're just looking at the fact that, okay, my mother was a PNP, or my grandfather was PNP, so I am a PNP. You cannot look at it that way. And you also have a set of people that they jump from party to party depending on which party they think is doing well. So if the JLP is doing something and they're doing something good, you have people jumping onto that side, and then if the party makes a mistake, they jump over on the PNP side, and I don't think that's right.
That is true.
I think that is right, actually, because say for instance, right now the PNP is in power, and they say they're doing well, but JLP has a better plan. Vote for JLP and see what they're doing. But if they don't, I think that's right. But if JLP goes in power and they don't do anything, and the PNP comes up with a better plan, and you know that they're going to fulfill their plan, and they don't have empty promises, I think you should vote for that.
But that's the thing, we don't know if they have empty promises. All they're doing is promising us things, because Dr. Peter Phillips, I saw an ad on television yesterday, and he's saying that over a 5-year period, 100,000 jobs will be available in the agricultural sector, the hotel industry, the construction industry, for example, like the China Harbor. People will be on the roads, constructing roads, etc.
I think that's realistic, because you have a lot of hotels being built on the north coast or something, and you need chefs, maids, and other persons to work there. So I think that's realistic.
Yes, citizens of this country should vote for the persons that they believe will better this country. The MPs are actually put in place to make Jamaica a better place.
From what we've observed, when it's almost election time, both parties always have tons of plans. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. But after they win, what happened? They forget about all those plans.
Well, that is true. That's why we're saying that you cannot have the bandwagonists. They cannot just listen to a party and say, okay, because they said this are going to. They don't know if these promises are going to be fulfilled.
But the thing is, if you have PNP in power now and they're not doing anything, it makes no sense to vote them back in again.
Yes, don't vote for a party because it only benefits you, right? Vote for a party that will benefit the whole country, because remember that you're not the only one that's in this country. There are many other persons.
We're here with Michael,
Delicia,
Jalissa,
Celia, and Davine.
Yes, guys, we're now continuing the discussion. Politicians should be held accountable. Guys, how do you think this will affect young people in society? The whole issue of politicians not being held accountable. How do you think this will affect young people in society?
All right. In the JLP's manifesto, it said something about the decreasing student loans. So I think that would be something good because there are a lot of people in the country who go to college and university and they don't have enough money. So of course they're going to borrow student loans, but they can't pay it back.
Because you have teachers now, my teachers, they are saying that they left university from about 10 years ago and they are still paying student loan right now out of their pay. And that's like 10 years ago. So that needs to be, something needs to happen where when it comes to the student loan.
I agree with that. Especially seeing that there are a lot of young people in Jamaica. Yes, we need to hold them accountable. And I have been among a lot of young people who have decided that they're not going to vote because they don't see how they're benefiting from all of
voices
this.
are actually not being heard.
And the politicians are supposed to be the voice of the voiceless. They're supposed to be out there advocating for the rights and betterments of society.
Especially the youth minister, because she should be actually talking about her views, and she's supposed to be coming to us and saying, okay, let me hear what you have to say about something. And I'm sure that is not being done. So that something needs to happen when it comes to the youth and their voice.
Yes, when they come to us and ask us about our views, then they'll sit and discuss implementations that they can do to better each student's lives, etc., educational wise.
I think the reason why the voice of the young people isn't being heard is because the politicians and the MPs aren't coming into the schools and sitting down and talking to the children, especially students in high school and probably sixth forms and colleges. And I think the reason why they don't want to vote, the other day I was listening to All Angles and they said that both parties are corrupt and both parties have empty promises. Both parties, they're not doing anything.
With the thing with them not doing anything and they're both corrupt. You know what I think? The parties, they both need to stop being at each other's throats and decide to work together, because this petty thing that they have, calling each other names, not even high school students do that again. And we are in high school. True. So I don't think that they should be doing that in the House of Parliament, being a politician.
I really agree with that. Because even yesterday, I bought a Gleaner yesterday, and on the front page of the Gleaner, it said more lawsuits aimed at Phillips. Now, the opposition leader, Andrew Holness, his wife, Mrs. Holness, she's aiming to sue Dr. Peter Phillips. And I mean, I think this is really immature for all the lawsuits suing each other. And I mean, it is politics time now. Election is soon. Election is coming up in a couple of days.
But we have to see where Dr. Peter Phillips is wrong. Why is he drawing the opposition leader's house into politics?
It's distraction. It's a distraction.
I don't see how that is relevant. Yes, he has a house. Yes, I'm sure he doesn't live in a little cut in anywhere down. I'm sure that he has a big house. So I don't understand why he's aiming at answering words at the opposition leader because he has a nice house.
I think if that is the case, all politicians, both current and opposition, should reveal their assets to the public. If that is the case, I think we should know about their assets.
Well, I believe that the reason why he's talking about his house, he wants to the public to believe that he's taking the citizens' money to build his house. It's actually a distraction.
Well, my belief is that if he didn't build a house or anything, they would find even a fault to say he's a politician and everything and he don't have a house. And so when it's election time, they will find every reason for you not to
vote for that person.
About what you said before about the parties coming together, instead of the opposition, whichever party it may be, instead of the opposition just disrespecting the party in power, I think they should give constructive criticism.
They should be helping the party in power.
Yes, because when you have the people, the party in government now, talking about the ideas or everything, you have the opposition maybe saying, oh no, that doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to be saying, all right, let's see how this can work. Let's see how we can,
make this better.
Yeah, exactly.
They should be suggesting implementations to make this country a better place, not fighting each other. They should unite. I don't mean like to make this country a dictatorship thing, but unite, work together. They are here to make this country a better place.
And let me tell you, we have to give the People's National Party a little props, because they have given jobs to people, No matter what people might think, they have given jobs to people. You have a lot of people out there right now. Yeah, like for example, the Jeep program. They have benefited. Not everyone has benefited.
Not
but
everyone is going to have a job.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, for example, that
I think they're trying.
Yes, they are trying. But so what I'm saying is that the opposition now, they have not ever said anything. Or for example, like they said, okay, the Prime Minister has had a few jobs for a certain number of people or whatever.
Let's see how we can improve on that plan.
Exactly. They're just saying that, the G program doesn't make any sense, or no one is benefiting. But in truth and in fact, people are benefiting from the G program.
That is true. I agree with that.
What I think also? I think that after a party is in power and they start on a plan, I think the party that comes after, if they're not voted back in, should continue on that plan.
Yes, and that is true, because what if the PNP wins? So I'm just saying, what if the PNP wins again? They're saying that they're going to provide 100,000 jobs, etc. Then the opposition should then look into themselves and say, okay, let's see how this could work. Let's have a meeting together and discuss ways in which we can get people to, come out and get these jobs.
Well, I saw in the Gleaner dated the February 19th, right? And it was saying that the JLP's manifesto was actually clearer than the PMP's manifesto. It's actually vague. They're just repeating back everything that they've said before.
Last time, yes, I know.
What is your take on that, Julissa, Davin? Well, I really agree with what you guys are saying, and I love where this discussion is going. However, as it relates to accountability,
we all agree that the politician should be held accountable.
All right. Now, as it relates to the MPs, I saw in the Gleaner yesterday, there's a section in the Gleaner, People's Reports, that's on People's Reports, yes. I saw a open letter to the Prime Minister, Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, clean the drains in Savlamar. What are the MPs doing in their constituency?
The people should be writing to the Prime Minister to say that. They should be writing to the MPs. The MPs should make sure that, okay, the drains in
Savannah
are clean. Yeah, Westmoreland. They should be clean. The Prime Minister shouldn't be get involved with this.
There are stages for everything. It's just like in schools. You have to go to your form teacher.
Then you go to the grade coordinator up. So you cannot skip the whole line and go to the Prime Minister like that. You have to speak with the MP, and first of all, the MP should make sure this should not reach in the newspaper. The MP should have made sure that this is sorted out.
That is true.
That is what the MP is for. He's not just there for to sit down in his office
and get paid.
Exactly. They should be out with the public doing something, because you can't have they're just passing on the work.
That is true. And I mean, if it's not a MP road, if it's a parish council road, the councillors are supposed to be working because we elected them.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why. And I mean, it's election time now, and the Prime Minister said last year that they're supposed to get their houses in order. And I mean, election is a couple days
away, Thursday.
Yes. So why are the people
with
still having issues
yes,
with road, with drains, even with ZigV. With ZigV.
This country should be cleaned up from a long time ago, not now.
Exactly, because the drain. Oh my, you know, people know that they're always coming on TV and saying that the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes they breed in drains, for example. And if this country is trying to prevent the Zika virus from coming to Jamaica, then that should be sorted out. Drains should be clean and everything the country should be put in order.
From this country got contaminated with the chick-V virus,
yes.
They should have been preparing, because if you have, it started from what? Dengue, right?
Yeah.
And they see it keep rising. They should be preparing. Now we have ZigV.
Because that is why, you know, people, I'm talking to people now, you cannot sit there and just decide that you don't want to make a change. You have to make your voice be heard. You have to say, okay, I don't like what this particular party is doing.
Yes.
Let me see what the other party can do for the country. And if you don't like it, you just try to see, all right, let me see what's going to happen over a 10-year period with the JLP or whatever. Let me see what they are going to do. And if you don't like what they're going to do, then you put by the PNP and see what they can do.
Yes, people, we live in a democratic country. It says government for the people and by the people. So they should be here for us. We vote you in, you should be here for us.
That is why I'm saying that you cannot have people you cannot vote because your mother was a PNP. You cannot look at it that way. You have to look at the fact that which country is doing
party.
Yeah, which party, sorry. Which party is
party.
Yeah, which party, sorry. Which party is operating best for the country? Who is going to benefit you?
Vote for who is going to benefit.
Yes.
That is why I would,
and this country.
That is why I would like to encourage the public, well, especially young people. If you have a vote, go and vote with a clear mind, a clear and confident mind on election day, because we need to elect persons who can maintain our rights and who are out there advocating for the rights and betterment of society. So you can't look at it on the directed side. You cannot look at it that way.
You know what is wrong with this country? People are just seeking power. I want to be this, I want to be that. No one is really there to say, all right, I want to do this because I want to help with the betterment of Jamaica. They just want the position. They want to be up in the hierarchy.
That is why leaders are supposed to be accountable. Yes, leaders are supposed to be accountable. Guys, I need to know you. I need to hear your views on this. You need to expound more.
All right, what you were saying with the drains a while ago. The community. Remember that on a Friday, we were cleaning up our schools. We're supposed to be cleaning up the communities as well. You can't just blame everything on politicians. People need to take some of the blame too. They need to clean up the areas.
They need to take the blame.
It's true. But the MPs, I think the reason why the drain wasn't clean is because the MP isn't driving around the area or walking around and looking at what needs to be done in each constituency.
They should play the role of an inspector in a sense. Yes. Go around and inspect the place. If something is wrong, do something about it.
You know what? You know the thing too? With the people that are complaining about roads, the politicians, and they don't take those roads, To be honest, they don't take the bad roads. They take the highway. They don't take the bad roads.
Yes, so and we as citizens should drive on it, right?
The Africa Youth Forum.
We need to talk about the solutions that we can do with all these problems that we found. The solution that I was thinking of was that we need a board that evaluates them, as I said before. The board will consist of persons who are not politically affiliated.
That is true.
And many young people nowadays, they're not politically affiliated because they don't want to vote. And the reasons why they don't want to vote
is because of the corruption.
Exactly, because as we said before, the sanctions need to be passed down. So the board then would look at what is happening. For example, if a politician says at the end of 2 years,
we should have better roads
or whatever. If at the end of this period of time this hasn't happened, then something needs to be done.
They should be sanctioned.
They should be
have not.
sanctioned.
Yes.
So what other solutions are there?
Basically, the public, this is a message to the public as well. You need to open up your eyes and you need
Look
to
what is happening.
Yes, you need to look what is happening in society. So both parties have identified their have given us their manifestos. So at the end of their tenure, any party that is elected, yes, we need to hold them accountable.
And I think the People's National Party, they need to step up now, because they're not participating in the debates. I don't think that is very childish.
Well, I believe a solution to this problem, right? Each citizens are members of society in each constituency. They should come together and make an agreement of the MP that they believe will make their constituency a better place.
Yes, so that is what I'm saying, is that...
So basically, my conclusion to all of this is a debate. I think that both parties should debate. This will basically identify what both parties
have planned
for us, and this will also help us to identify which party we are going to vote for,
And
or the public is going to elect on election day.
People are saying that the People's National Party, the reason why they don't want to participate in the debate is because they don't have a plan. They only have the same old. So that is why people are saying something is there. The PNP is hiding something. That is why they don't want to participate.
I think this is something that we do in schools. Like the PNP is not participating in the debate because the opposition leader was disrespectful.
But let me say something now. It is. Let us look down the line. This is not the first time that they are being disrespectful to each other. Let us look at what the People's National Party has said about the opposition. They have said a lot of things, so I don't understand why they are getting upset because the opposition leader called Prime Minister a con artist.
It is politics, so we're expecting these things.
We spoke earlier about the disrespecting. They need to have respect for each other. However, in concluding this, I'm going to play my part and encourage you to vote with a clear and confident mind on election day to ensure that the best party or the better party is elected.
Yes, because you look at what the party is doing. Don't be bandwagonist. If you think that a particular party can make the change, vote for that party.
We not only want transparency, accountability, and openness, but the decision made will impact on our future in some way, whether we like it or not. The next party that wins will be in government for the next 4 years, and we are the ones that will be left with the consequences of the decisions made. And this is why the people of Jamaica need to hear the debate, so that we can hear the plans of both parties.
Well, where I live, I would like to see, I have a dream. And what I would like to see, like, there are MPs, well, I would like to see, like, the roads fixed, drains clean up, and everything. So what I would say is, like, the MPs would make a calendar, as in, put away a few, at least 3 days of their month, and come in their constituency and clean up and fix up and just make the people comfortable.
Yes, they need to have a day where they're going to the different constituencies, go around and look at what the community needs and say, okay, we're going to do this at a certain designated time.
Yes, that's true, because if you do this like without, it's election time, don't come only when it's election time. When you come before and you give us our needs, then eventually the people of that constituency will actually like you more. Yes, so you won't have to come when it's election time and like try to bribe them, etc.
Yes, guys. In concluding this, what do you think about the H1N1 virus that killed the doctor yesterday? What are your views on that? Because I think we need a press release from the Minister of Health to know what are the plans that they're going to put in place
to stop
for this outbreak.
Yes.
What are your views on that?
Every time we have viruses, and each time it's from mosquitoes. So this country, it actually needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be cleaned up because eventually, what if everybody in this country dies? What if they what if?
Seriously though, I think that the government needs to do something about this, and I'm not just going to blame the government, but the public on a whole. We're all citizens of this country, and we need to keep our environment and surroundings clean. So we're not just going to blame the member of parliament or the councillor, caretaker for the division, on the drains.
That is true.
And the drains that are filled with garbages and all of that. When citizens of this country are the persons who are littering.
That is true. That is true. You need to look into yourselves and say, even if the MP is not doing anything, you have to step up and say, all right, let us gather some people and let us decide we're going to clean this area of the community.
Yes, because we are the ones living there.
Yes, and in fact, you are the ones that dump the garbage.
So you should actually clean
we are
that
the ones
up.
that
Yes.
dump the dispose of our garbage incorrectly. So we should be held accountable.
Yes, I agree with that. So both politicians and members, citizens of this country are supposed to be accountable. Guys, what are your views on this? I need to hear what are your views? I need to hear them.
All right. When there was the chickpea outbreak, the government, there wasn't much information about chickpea until it was too late. But I think they're taking control of the Zika virus. I'm not sure about the H1N1 because only one person died of it. So
yes, I think we need to do, the government need to implement some sensitizations as it relates to these outbreaks.
Yes, they need to educate the people about the preventions of these viruses.
Before it's too late.
Yes, but not only the government, but young people, we use social media a lot. So when we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
Snapchat,
just do some sensitization because it's really not hard. All you have to do is basically let them know some of the signs and symptoms.
Yes, and that's true.
Let the public know that if you're experiencing these signs and symptoms, visit your nearest healthcare center. So while you're utilizing social media for your own reasons, sensitize the public.
All right. The JLP stated free healthcare, right? And the citizens are actually going into healthcare and dying because they're not getting the attention that they need.
So, in concluding this discussion, I think, we are saying to you that the government should be accountable.
Yes, and let's go back to the accountability thing now. Do you think that the politicians that they haven't done anything, do you think that they should be voted out of their constituency or removed from the party?
Yes, because that's what you were elected for. You were elected to represent your constituency. So if you're not working, I don't see why persons or the citizens should elect you for another term if you were not working.
With positions comes responsibilities.
And the thing is, many of these parties, they spend a lot of money on campaigning, and that money could be used to help the community.
That is very true. So no, our conclusion is politicians are supposed to be held accountable. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much to the students of Fern Court High School. Really appreciate that. Those were the views, of the youth in the studio, not coached in terms of what to say, not coached in terms of their views. You heard them. These are their views. And I hope we were listening. All right, it's the Africa Youth Forum, and we'll pick that up next week with another set of students from another high school in Jamaica, even as Jamaicans get ready to go to the polls. By the time we come back with next week, it will be after the polls. So let's see what happens. We are inside of the Africa Forum Running African. We're going to quickly go to the phone lines to speak with Jawari Akhenaton, who is a member of the UNIA here in Jamaica, to hear from him the work that the UNIA in Jamaica is embarking on now regarding prison rehabilitation on the island. So let's go right now to the phone lines. Jawari, my brother, good morning.
Good morning, Sister Kabu. What a wonderful morning it is.
Isn't it the Hotep to you, my brother, Hotep?
Hotep to you, Uncle Jackson Neb.
Uncle Jackson. Tonight's still in.
That's still in, my sister.
Jawari, we don't have a lot of time, so let's just get right into it.
Yes, please.
The UNIA in Jamaica is embarking on a new project, commendable project. Tell me about this.
Let me correct you. We started 5 years ago.
Oh, it's not so new.
No, it's not so new.
All right.
The developments are new. Now we're having Black History programs where we invite people from the streets to come and perform, and we have the people in the prison performing with their bands and skits and doing all kinds of constructive things with poetry. Mm-hmm. So it has reached a new level. We now have the full endorsement of the prison system. Thank God for the superintendent, Mr. Brown, who is supporting us, and an extra thank God for one of the officers, Mr. English, who's a corrections officer, who has been an angel to us in sense of giving us all the opportunities to meet the right people and implement the program effectively.
Mm-hmm. All right, so tell us about this program, because I know that there is rehabilitation involved in all of this, rehabilitation of Jamaica's prison system, and that you're doing this on Tuesday. Tell me about that.
Well, okay. Well, the UNI was founded on the manifesto of help for the poor and upliftment of fallen humanity. Mr. Garvey was very, very, very deliberate.
You have a lot of noise in your background, Jawari.
Okay, let me get somewhere where I can actually. Am I better now?
Well, let's see. Go ahead.
Yes. Mr. Garvey was very, very particular about how he established his organization. And the UNI was founded on the concept of liberating the minds of men. Mr. Garvey spoke specifically when he said, liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men, which is the theme of our program on Tuesday. Now, we have to find a way, apart from just throwing people into prison and pretending that they're going to rehabilitate themselves. Minds need information, as you know. Thank God for your program, your Sunday school program that's rehabilitating minds. We need to inject positive reinforcements into the minds of our people, especially those who are incarcerated. We can't just throw them in prison and expect them to change themselves, and we can't treat them like they are less than human beings, because they do have families and they do have children, and they do have a hope of one day being free to rejoin their families. So the UNIA has embarked on a program of repairing the damage that has been done to the minds of our people. Now, Sister Andrea, looking around our country and the world, you see that a lot of people's minds need rehabilitating. When you see a person with their skin bleached to the extent where it becomes a pink instead of a black, that person is in extreme need for rehabilitation. When you see our young men walking around with their pants all the way down to their knees, and I think it's a style and a fashion, you know that person needs mental rehabilitation. So we are preparing these brothers to leave prison with a new concept, a new mindset, a more positive mindset about how they're going to relate to the world when they leave there. Now, the prison system is trying to do their best, but however, I don't think that they have achieved the level of success because they are not focusing on the mind. You have to start with the mind. We can't liberate bodies. What happens when you take a man who has committed a crime, put him in prison, and you don't give him an alternative, a way of thinking to repair the damage of his mind that maybe society or the lack of knowledge has brought on him? You create a monster. You create a very upset person when he leaves prison, and quite likely he'll return to prison or he'll get killed by the police.
So in terms of the rehabilitation of the mind, what are you doing? What is the UNIA doing exactly in that regard?
Well, we go to the General Penitentiary is our pilot project, and we go there once a week with our message. For 2 hours, we sit in classroom and we discuss every aspect of liberation of the mind with the people, including how they should take care of themselves, how they should be better dads. We talk very badly about deadbeat dads. We talk very badly about men dressing like effeminately and wearing their pants in a disrespectful way. We talk very badly about all the negative things that black people are doing to themselves. Sister Andrea, the way to change anybody to change their mind is to recognize that there's a need for change. That's the first step towards repairing your mind. To realize that there is a need to remove the cobwebs, to remove the mental degradation that's inside of you, inflicted by years of mental enslavement.
And so that once you get there, and this is part of the prison outreach program, as you pointed out, that the UNIA has been doing for the last 5 years.
Yes.
And you mentioned also that the prison band is involved in that. That persons are calling to participate with poetry and skits and so on. Tell us about, is there, what's the format? Do you have like an address, and who delivers the address?
Oh, wonderful. Okay, we are blessed to have a very great president, Mr. Stephen Golding. He'll be delivering the main address. His wife, Empress, will be the MC of the program, and we have several artists who are coming in to perform from the street.
All right.
So we have a full package
and
from the street
and you do this inside. Do you do this once per week or?
Oh, no. This is only during Black History Month. We're allowed the privilege of having 4 hours to do this for the entire. But once per week, we have a classroom session.
And the 4 hours for this particular one will be this Tuesday.
Yes, from 10 till 2.
All right. Thank you so much, Jawari, and blessings.
And we're hoping that this will extend to other prisons in the future. We're hoping that the administration will take up the challenge and realize that this is a good thing for rehabilitation, and use our information to help rehabilitate these people.
All right. Thank you so much, my brother. Good work on part of the UNIA. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
All right, Jawari Akhenaton there of the UNIA aiming to rehabilitate Jamaica's prison system. This Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The ongoing process continues. The UNIA Prison Outreach Program, performances from the prison band, poetry, understand, skits and so on. And Stephen Golding, the president of the UNIA in Jamaica, addressing the gathering there at the General Penitentiary. Thank you so much, Jawari. You know, last week Sunday we left from here and went straight into Kingston to the Jamaica Music Museum. And believe me, I'm very happy I went. We intended to speak with Herbie Miller this morning, and we still do need to speak with Herbie because the weekly events continue, but last week was food for the soul. Literally, I sat there and I listened to poets read their poetry, primarily about Don Drummond and Margarita, Jerry Small. Oh, blessings to you, my brother. Brilliant work. Also there last week Sunday, Lorna Goodison. Did I say food for the soul? Because that's exactly what it was. Jamaica's Poet Laureate Mervyn Morris, Raymond Mayer. It was something else, Professor Kwame Dawes. And it was just a beautiful moment. Packed room. And it wasn't a small space. Standing room only at one stage. You couldn't get up. Because if you get up, then you lose your seat. That happened to people I know. Anyway, so the Jamaica Music Museum, and you should go check out, because Herbie Miller does right before the event, the main event, he does a tour. He gives a personal tour of the Music Museum, and you should go see that. You cannot afford not to see what the work that is being done at the Jamaica Music Museum in terms of what is on display. It is out of this world. We're going to come back to that, because that was brilliant. And the day itself at the Jamaica Music Museum, I can't tell the last time I had my spirit, my soul taken care of. Thank you, Natalie. I know I sound like a testifying, but it's true. It was really food for the soul. The soundtrack you're hearing, of course, is African Brazilian rhythms. the Department of Sociology, Psychology and Social Work, the Department of Government and the Rastafari Studies Center, Office of the Principal at UWI, Mona Campus, in collaboration with the University of the West Indies Press, invite you to the launch of Leonard Percival Howell and the Genesis of Rastafari, edited by Clinton A. Hutton, Michael A. Barnett, T.A. Dunkley, and Jelani A.H. Nair. At the Undercroft, the University of the West Indies, Mona, on Monday, February 29. Okay, so the Battle of Adwa celebration will be at White Rock, Buff Bay. That's White Rock in Buff Bay, Portland. Battle of Adwa. All right.
That's next week. That's next week.
That's next week, yes, starting next week Sunday. And Mama Jackie Woods called to say her daughter Amika joined the ancestor this morning. Oh, condolences, my sister. Oh, Anika, who was in a wheelchair. Oh, Jackie, I'm so sorry to hear. All condolences to you and to the family.
Yeah, man, sorry to hear.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're getting this and reading it as we're getting it, so I didn't even realize what I was reading. But, wow, quite a shock. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Herbie Miller, Director, Curator of the Jamaica Music Museum. Hey, Herbie.
Morning. How you doing, man? Morning to your visitors and your guests and your listeners.
and Roger Haspel.
I heard.
Hey, Roger, man.
All right, man. I'm here, you know.
Well, Herbie, I was just telling Roger how, last week was like food for the soul. And if you weren't there, then, that is just too bad, because I don't think it will ever be repeated. And even if we have another one like it, the feeling will not be the same. So,
let me first of all, Cabo, really thank you for that surprise show up. I was not expecting to see you there.
But Herbie,
so it was really a surprise and a welcome.
Let me ask a question, Herbie, because after your call, Jerry Small, Mervyn Morris, Kwame Dawes, Lorna Goodinson, you expect me to stay in OG?
Listen, no wonder the room was full.
It was packed.
But it has been so from the first one. This one has really pushed Go Nation as a, to attract audiences beyond where we have been able to in the past, especially consistently each week.
Yes.
We have had full houses, for example, back in conversation and so on, once or twice. We've done so. We have had a reasonably good turnout that satisfied us. But I must say that since the very first one on February 2nd through the 14th, which was last week, it was really, really well attended.
It was something else. And the makeup of the audience, because that was an eclectic audience.
Quite a cross-section of Jamaicans and foreigners.
Yes,
I noticed that. But I would imagine that Don Drummond has that appeal.
Of course, and I was very happy to hear a lady behind me asking, "Was this in the paper?" And the gentleman answered, "It was on IRFM this morning."
Big up to Irie, and really big up to Irie. I was just here listening, and I said, "No, what do they want me to come on and say after all of what you are saying? That exciting review you just gave." I'm very, very humbled by how you have described what you experienced.
Oh, it was beautiful, Herbie. Congratulations on that. Now, it continues today.
It continues today, and of course the overall theme, as you mentioned earlier on, is Ungo Malongo Man, Musings with Don Drummond.
Yes.
Today's theme, since each week we do have a sub-theme, is Don Drummond, the musicianer, reflections and interpretations. And quickly, a musicianer is a troubadour or a wandering musician, usually black.
Yes.
Like a Jolly or a griot.
Yes.
And we have a lineup unbelievable. We have Delphia Marcellus of the Marcellus clan, one of the top trombonists in the world today, a man who met John Drummond by way of audio tape in a Brooklyn, Jamaican taxi cab. Now, if you know the Marcellus clan, you know they're extremely proud of their American heritage.
Yes.
And so when the guy said to him, "Oh, you play trombone?" Well, the greatest trombonist come from Jamaica. He just laughed until he went to Branford's house and saw some Scatolites LP. He has been visiting Jamaica ever since studying Don Drummond.
Oh, goodness.
Steve Turre came to Jamaica in 1983 at my invitation, and the first thing he asked Tommy McCook and I, how can I meet Don Drummond? It was 18 years late. Today, Steve has recorded with Monty Alexander. He's considered the top trombonist in the world for the last 6 years. And he's here to say why he loves Don Drummond. Young Andre Merkinson is considered the most brilliant trombonist of his generation. He sits in Don's seat in the current edition of the Scatolites. So he's here to tell about what spirit has possessed him as a result of that experience. And of course, someone you and I and everybody else who loves radio and good music and journalism have come to admire over the years. One of our mentors and teachers is Dermot Hussey. And he will be moderating the session. There will be great performances from these individual trombonists, augmented by Romeo Gray. We have a quartet of trombonists and some very, very, very special guests. Tantan Thornton sat beside Don Drummond at Alpha Boys School. At 80-something years old, Tantan still tours the world. He has recorded with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Blondie. It goes on and on and on. He just came for personal business, heard about this, came to see me and said, there's no way you're doing a tribute to Donald and I'm not playing. He didn't even bring his horn. We had to arrange something. He was here. Also, Michael Bammy Rose is here on his annual trip to Jamaica, a fantastic Jamaican tenor saxophonist. He'll be there. Among others, Desi Jones, Ozoni. These are people who just could not resist the opportunity. So it's at the Institute of Jamaica, 10 to 16 East Street, downtown Kingston, of course. It's at 2 p.m. Please be there early, or as Cabo said, you might be standing in the aisles.
That's right. And are you going to do the tour again today? I mean, because that's really...
Most definitely. There are 3 exhibitions. The Rastafari exhibition, the Morris Day Rebellion exhibition, but of course, the feature is curating music, building a national collection.
I'm telling you.
I start that exhibition promptly at 1. So if you want to be a part of it, please be there, and I'll personally do the tour.
And let me just encourage people to take that tour. Take that tour before you go sit down and just bask in what is about to come.
Let me also quickly, Cabo, talk about what these wonderful international musicians will be doing Monday at 10 a.m. at the Vera Moody Concert Hall. And that's at the Edna Manley School of Visual and Performing Arts, 10 a.m., free to everyone, students and working musicians alike. A workshop in music, composition, harmony, theory, and of course, performance.
Thank you so much, Herbie.
Quickly, please let me thank our sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are. Of course, JMMB, thanks for being with us. IRA FM, what can I say? News Talk 93 has allowed me so much freedom. The Chase Fund came through. Of course, I hope you tried some of that limited market thing that was there last week. They have been with us forever.
Me no look for no find it, you know.
And it's all for free, people. Nobody's charging anything. Of course, we'd love to get a donation and a contribution, but if you don't have it, just turn up. I'd like to just especially thank also Nationwide Radio, CVM and TVG. Though they are not sponsors, they have been very kind, among others.
Well,
so looking forward to seeing everyone later.
Of course. Thank you so much, Herbie. And once again, brilliant work. Brilliant work.
Thank you so much.
At the Jamaica Music Museum. Herbie Miller there, Director, Curator at the Jamaica Music Museum. You're inside of the Africa Forum. It is Running African, and we're joined by our very, very special guests. Again, in the studio with us, coming all the way from Trelawney, we welcome to the studio the members of the Trelawney Town Flagstaff Maroon Council. And they're going to be talking to us about the second annual Treaty Day celebration. So we have in the studio my good friend and brother, Michael Grizzle, who is the chief of the Trelawney Town Flagstaff Maroons. Michael, good morning. Oh, you're not hearing me, Michael? All right. right. I think, yeah, you're connected from there. So if you turn up. Morning. All right. Anybody else hearing me? Anybody hearing me at all?
Yes.
Morning, my brother. How you doing?
Blessed love, Cabo.
Morning. Greetings. All right. So, Michael, I'm not sure if your headphone is working or not, but welcome to the program. And at the end there, you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing.
Greetings, my brother. And my sister, you're not hearing me at all. All right, and neither is Michael. So we'll just start with who we have, who's hearing us. My brother, Crosby McGee. Who's Crosby McGee?
Blessed love.
Welcome
Greetings.
again.
Yes.
You hear me now, Michael? No. Canute Cameron.
Yes.
Greetings, my brother, Director of a Council of the Trelawney Town Flagstaff Maroons, and Crosby, of course, a bang blower of the Trelawney Town Flagstaff. You have your bang, Crosby?
Most definitely.
So go on, blow them. Make it start the thing, Pumper.
No flow. Give thanks.
Yeah.
It's a jar, you know.
Yeah. Give thanks.
Yeah. Call, you know, from our forefathers, you know.
Yes.
Naturally, you know, for uplift our people in this time, you know.
Thank you so much.
Give thanks.
That's your bang.
Yeah, I think I'm hearing you now.
You're hearing me now, Michael.
Yes,
but you not seem to be doing too well at all. It's just one piece you have left. But anyway. No, it's not right. But anyway, let's see what we can do. Welcome, Michael. Good to have you in the studio.
Atep sister, you know, blessed greetings and, you know, blessed greetings to all your listeners and everything. Big up to IRFM all the time, number one for us in the hills.
Give thanks. And are you hearing me now, my sister? Yes. Okay, brilliant. Claudia Hudson, member of the council.
Forgive us, but Claudia, she had a little illness.
Okay, so this is Delsha.
So this is Delsha
Peterkin, woman empowerment leader of the Trelawney Town Flagstaff Maroons, and also herbalist. We're very happy to have you in the studio, Aquaba. All right, so let's start with you, Michael. You know, a little bit about Trelawney Town Maroons. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but let's see how much we can get in here. A little about the Trelawney Town Maroons.
We would say we'll start. We would just briefly start with the history, because a lot of people has misconstrued the history. Maroon communities were actually formed from 1494. If we go back to then, when Maroons came, the Moors came over from Spain and accompanied Christopher Columbus as sailors. And what happened was that these Maroons, these communities or these Moors actually intermingle with the natives that was on the island. And if we go further back, we would talk even more about the Siboneyes later, before even the Taínos. But what we saw, based on our historical background and where we are coming from with this history of the Maroons, is that these communities that were formed even by 1609, when the first census was taken by the Spaniards, that there was 107 free black people on the island. So we saw more or less that these Maroon communities were actually formed long before the British arrived. The originality of Trelawney Town itself is based upon after the 1690 rebellion in Clarendon and Sutton's estate, where Codger moved further over from the Clarendon region and came further over into the cockpits and settled at a place which is called Petty River Bottom, which is actually located near to our community called Flagstaff now. By 1730, the war had intensified, and Captain Codger had sent Nanny over to the west, because based on my oral history background from my grandmother, that Nanny was actually Codger's wife. We know that every kingdom have to have a king and a queen.
So you're saying this is different from what we have heard, that Nanny was Codger's sister?
Yes, I kind of differ from that. That Nanny was, you know, because based on the Islamic heritage of the Maroons, and we wouldn't take much time of going into much of the Islamic heritage that proves much more of what.
All right, so we'll revisit that another time, because that's interesting.
Because what we saw now is
and
that
worthy of discussion.
Yes, after Codger came over into the cockpits in 1730, when the British intensified the war, by 1738. The British saw that they could never defeat Codger within the cockpits. So the British sought Codger out to negotiate peaceful terms. My oral history background from my grandmother was that the entire highland had belonged to the Maroons. The Maroons were the one giving the British permission to actually deal with them sugarcane thing on the island, while two of them could work together, because these Moors, the first stage of any order of the day, based on the Islamic heritage, is that peace was the first order of the day. And for fighting a war for 100 years, because we saw that the war had started, even with the Ryanova battle, that to me was the first Maroon War. I think by 1738, that the scholars were saying that this war was the first Maroon War. I think the battle in Ryanova, when the Spaniards left, the island was in total control of the Africans who were here. And
it's important to locate the Africans properly in history. Africans, and because when we say Maroons, they become immediately a disconnect,
right.
from the general African population,
right.
And so that I think even in our own discourse needs to be properly situated.
Exactly, and based on what we are doing now, over and the work that I'm doing with Maroons, is that to change that stigma, because the linguistic of the word maroon and where it originates from, people were saying it was Cimarron, that meant wild and untamed, or it was Maran, which mean a wild hog. We in turn call the white man Bakra, which that's how Bakra Massa came, and that's the second surah in the Quran. But based on by 1738, that Kojo had actually established a treaty with the British that gives the Maroon of Trelawney Town the right, the sovereign right, and there's a clause within the treaty that would say to live in absolute peace and freedom. When we researched that, because we would go back now and instead of going into that, we would just suggest for people to look into the Harvard research done by Professor Charles Neeson and his students of the treaty itself, and what these clauses actually mean to us today. And then Trelawney Town was established because the governor of of Jamaica at the time was Edward Trelawney. So Kojo moved from down in Petty River Bottom and established a town which is now called Flagstaff. There was 50 years of peace between the Maroons and the British until 1795, when the Maroons of Trelawney Town were the only ones involved in that war. In the second Maroon War, which resulted in them being transported to Canada and by extension to Sierra Leone. So today, a lot of people, in 1841, these same contingents of the Trelawney Town Maroons returned to Jamaica, yes, and resettled the geographical location, because the community had was renamed Flagstaff by the British after the British built barracks on top of that Trelawney Town. So today, in 1989, we started with another elder within the community, Mr. Yoth Cameron, who went to a compound town to sought for us to build an anthem and a flag for the Maroons. At the time, I said, no, I think this flag should stay in Flagstaff, Trelawney Town. Then we started our research, and based on my Maroon background, that from my grandmother, was that I was born and grew up in Ocherest, right up a Milford, that's where I born.
Yeah.
I grew up in Milford, all the great pan people, big up on yourself, and content and exchange. But at the same time, the Maroons were returned to Jamaica, and we had traced our lineage and connected to these Maroons. So within the past, from 1989, when we were working on the flag and so forth and creating the seal, and all of that, because Mr. Yoth Cameron, another elder who is here with me today, he has written an anthem for the Maroons that we are using today.
All right, tell us about that anthem, Mr. Yoth Cameron.
It's anthem was written by me, Yoth Cameron, some 35 years ago. Yeah, and it's like this.
Yes, thanks.
It says, we are children of Africa. We have been proud, giving thanks and praises to be free from the burden of slavery, standing tall on this island of Jamaica, rekindling the true spirits of our national heroes,
Kojo and Sister Nanai. They guide us children, drumming sound in the abeng sound of a call. Almighty God, true master of all nations, who guide us throughout creation, reveal unto our thirst the symbol of praises, to guide us throughout creation. Almighty God, true master of all nations, Who will pay for the blood-burning sweat, oppression, tears of all Africans? For through the lust of material eyes, you have closed their spiritual eyes and are ashamed to open them. Oh, what a glory when your feeling are covered under the length of your locus, and the look of Jah appears so dreadful in your eyes. Come, let us sing, maroon chant, drumming, sounding the abanks.
Well, I just say that I felt that.
Yes,
I really felt that.
Yes,
I mean, I'm just having goose pimples like all over. Really.
I think to you, Sister Kabu, that that with the work that the elder Mr. Cameron was doing, and me coming in as a young energy, and for the first time in Trelawney Town, someone came up and declared themselves the chief.
Yes.
And I prefer.
That's true. Yes.
With the community 100% behind us.
Yes. Yes.
And we prefer not to be a colonel, because we are not British. We are going to use this opportunity within Trelawney Town that way forward, and this is why we are having our event.
I'm going to go to that immediately, and because I noticed that you're also doing, because nothing is starting and culture changes, and the more we know, the more we revisit our history, is what we learn when we revisit, we should really put into practice and bring that as part of the narrative, because our history has been told by the enslavers, by the colonizers, and now in searching for ourselves and finding ourselves, we need to retell and to change a narrative, which is what I noticed that you're doing in Trelawney Town. And so Treaty Day, let's talk about that, because everybody knows, as somebody where my family itself identifies as Maroons, my entire grandfather side identify themselves as Kodjo Maroons. And I have totally, not bought into that idea. Wanda Sarah's Maroons is who we probably are. If we're really going to understand ourselves as Africans, so Wanda Sarah's Africans. But let us talk about the treaty, because I have a fundamental problem with the treaty, and here you are talking about Treaty Day as a big event on March 1, right? March 1.
March 1.
So let us talk about that. What is it that you're celebrating?
We're actually celebrating, because of the rekindling of Trelawney Town itself. Flagstaff, Trelawney Town being named Flagstaff, and the whole history of the Maroons being so distorted. We sought to put attention to the geographical location of the lands that were spoken to by the treaty, that result in my ancestors being transported from the island, because we were the defenders. The Trelawney Town Maroons were the most feared. Our ancestors were the ones, because Maroons actually, we actually were the defense of the island. From the time of the Spaniards, we were paid. The treaty stipulation and what surrounds the treaty and says that, with the return of Africa, with the enslaved African, we have to understand that the British is adept in divide and rule strategies. They were sending black shots against us. They were sending enslaved Africans against us. And Kodjo had was to make a decision. Within that aspect, there were practices that were brought from the plantation into the Maroon community that could not be.
So how do we celebrate? Because I understand the point you're making. How do we celebrate the treaty without saying or identifying that there is an aspect of a treaty that we cannot celebrate?
Exactly, and I think that this part of it, with the return of enslaved Africans, that caused the divide. Part of it. If we look closely to the treaty, I was going to bring a copy, but I think if we look closer to the treaty, that the stipulation in the treaty that says once you subjugate yourself to Captain Kodjo and his rules and laws, you can remain in the Maroon community. For me, scrutinizing the treaty and say, yes, I wasn't there when Kodjo, when this treaty was negotiated. My grandmother told me that the treaty that I have in my possession today is not actually the real treaty. My grandmother is saying that when I asked my grandmother, how do I know Maroon land? She said, I must look around me, I see cockpit and ridges. And I see cockpit and ridges from the eastern end of the island to the western end of the island. And we are now in Flagstaff, now saying, yes, there's clause that is in the treaty that stipulates that aggression of the Maroons to say that we are returned. But if we look on the other acts that were passed in Parliament itself, you know, that says to the Trelawney Town Maroon in 1792, this act that was passed was saying to us, Trelawney Town Maroons, that we should not purchase anymore, and they were banning us from purchasing enslaved, because when enslaved came to our community, because of the treaty we had was to purchase them for them not to go back. So the Trelawney Town Maroons is the significant Maroon community that hold the resistance and the resilience, and that was why they were taken off this island.
We're going to revisit that,
and that's why we're celebrating.
Yes, and I've invited you here, understanding that there is a wider issue.
Yes.
The issue of land and reclamation and reparations.
True.
And that we have to deal with as African people in Jamaica. So let us talk about that, because on March 1,
yes,
which is being observed as Treaty Day, there is a big event that's going to happen in Trelawney Town. Talk about that.
Yeah. This is all
right. I know we have Delsha Peterkin. So
Yes.
Delsha, grab the microphone there. Woman Empowerment Leader for Trelawney Town Flagstaff Maroons, also herbalist, and tell us about what the plans are for March 1.
Good morning. The plans for March 1. Okay. The ladies, we will all have stuff. We as the Maroon Council, because which I'm a part of the Maroon Council, and the Woman Empowerment, I'm joining with Mama G. Good. So we will have these things on display, things of the herbs and spice from the Maroon things. Because in my community, I'm a herbalist.
Yes.
Because presently, I don't go to the doctor. If I go to the doctor within the last time, they say, okay, Miss Peterkin, I give you a year to come back. At my age, no regular person comes to doctor that way.
Yes.
So I'm a herbalist. I do soaps, I do herbs, I do spice, I do sewing, I do a lot of stuff.
Right. And when we come there on March 1, we'll be able to see some of the work that you've been doing in the community.
And taste.
Wow. Jeez. What we are going to taste?
Well,
what will we taste?
You'll taste some of that carcoon.
Some of that what?
You'll taste some of the carcoon, the carcoon drops, like how you use coconut. Carcoon is a poisonous thing. A lot of things that we Maroons use, we know how to extract poison from it.
Yeah.
And make it becomes a natural
But
food.
me never hear what carcoon drops is.
Yeah, man.
I would call it something else.
We use it, we brown stew it, we curry it, we cook it in soup. We make confectionaries with it and stuff.
Okay. So carcoon drops, right? What else bet you? Oh, tell me about that.
We brought some for you too.
Kenke. Wait, no, where you make it? I have a book coming out in August called Making Kenke from Memory.
Yeah.
So if it don't make good, I know.
Okay.
Right?
That would be a good testing.
So what you use to make the Kenke? Cassava or
banana.
Oh, thank you, because I don't eat cassava.
Yeah, it's the banana one.
It's the banana one. Wow.
Base,
yeah. Me no reason why I don't eat cassava. I just don't like it.
Okay. Well, we Maroons consider cassava as a steroid.
It is?
It builds you.
Oh, it does?
You know, back in the days when we have to be running over cockpit country, even now.
Yeah, cassava.
Yeah, man, it's a long distance. Mr. Cameron used to have to walk.
Yes.
Like when he was younger, walking like 7 miles with 2 bunch of bananas in his head.
Yes,
from his father's farm. And where his father's farm was in the bottom of that Petty River bottom, where the original treaty, if you look at a picture to say that the treaty was signed any other way, because they said we have to revisit our history, you know.
Yes.
And we have to actually, teach the youths them the real thing about their history. Don't teach them that their history stops at slavery.
Starts there.
Or starts there.
You know?
We Maroons, we are claiming that we are of West African descent, came through
Egypt.
We are even from
Kemet.
the Nile Valley.
Yes.
Kemet and so forth. But in the other part of it, coming out of West Africa.
Yes, I understand you.
And ruling Spain for 800 years.
Yes.
And coming to Jamaica and set up presidency.
Well, as Van Sertima tells us, elder ancestor, we came before Columbus.
Yes.
So we are the people
Yes.
who came before Columbus, and that we have to understand even in retelling our story, our history. All right, so on March 1 in Flagstaff is in St. James.
Yeah, Flagstaff is in St. James. They hide it in St. James. They push it on the carpet because the real when
where exactly is it?
It's on the edge. It's one of the only communities directly in the cockpit country too. At our back door is the cockpit country, so
them call it South St. James.
It's in South St. James.
Them constituency.
And border with Trelawney.
And border with Trelawney.
Okay, so how you get there? Like we coming from?
You can come if persons want to get there coming from Kingston. You could come on the south, coming in and coming up to like you'd head into a compound, coming into Magati. And if you're coming from Ocherius way, you'd come to Montego Bay and then turn at Fairfield. Or if you come on Howard Cook Boulevard, you turn on Catchenall Drive. Come straight across where Vista Print is and come up Fairfield Road onto Tucker, Johns Hall, Kensington. You know, Kensington is our area.
Oh, you forget to Kensington, you're okay.
You're okay.
All right, we know Kensington.
Yeah, the other person.
So we're children of Daddy Sharp, you know.
Very much so.
So we know Kensington.
We have a video of that last broadcast that IRFM did there.
Okay,
which
yes.
was superb.
Okay, brilliant.
Respect to IRFM.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so if you get to Kensington, then you're not far from.
That's right. No, you're not far from. You come onto Maroon Town.
Okay.
And then onto Flagstaff.
All right, we're looking forward to that. All right, so what's going to happen now on the day? I know the sisters will have
this year the theme of the festival. This is the second festival that we are keeping. Last year we had the first inaugural one. This year we are extending borders and preserving heritage. So because of our connection with Sierra Leone and the importance that the Maroons had played with the Creole people, the language in Sierra Leone that is spoken was created by the Maroons, and it's very close to the Jamaican patois.
Yes, I know. Yes.
So this year we are extending, as we said, borders. So we'll have like Commissioner Isanto Simit from Monuments and Relics Commission in Sierra Leone. We'll have all the tourism people from Sierra Leone visiting.
Please let them come to the studio when they come in.
No, we will.
Okay.
We have the connection system.
Yes, but weren't you in Sierra? So who went to Sierra Leone?
Mr. Cameron went to Sierra Leone.
Mr. Cameron, I never talked to you down at Sierra Leone.
Yes, relative. Remembrance. Because I should have said that we had in 2011 two persons from Trelawney Town.
Yes,
a lot of people were saying. Lots of people were saying that the Maroons were not in Flagstaff, Trelawney Town, and they were actually because we anchored the ecotourism project there in 2009 that we got funding through USAID, and used that ecotourism as a basis to bring out history.
Yes,
that is in Flagstaff.
So Mr. Cameron, I know you know, not annoy. I'm the first man see your head. But look here.
Him say you ask him for Dukuno.
Yes.
And him say that's why I make it bring it come now. I'm from 2011 him forget the Dukuno now.
It's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Because I even spoke to you on the phone in Sierra Leone. Yeah. The two people are gone. There's a young lady who went to.
Yes.
Right.
Ferguson. Nicole Ferguson.
Yes. Did she come back?
Yes.
Well, I mean, did I come back? You know.
So you think over there so nice that you don't want to come back?
It's not a matter of nice. It's a matter of
the place.
Yeah, finding your people.
Your place.
In Sierra Leone, exactly. I'm still searching for exactly which part. But she actually went there to Sierra Leone, where that connection is undisputable.
She met a sister there that exactly looked like her.
Yes.
Like a twin.
Yes.
And
I spoke to her in Sierra Leone too. I'm sure. I remember.
People could visit a website that was created for that.
Yes,
the Maroon Connection website.
Okay. Maroon Connection. Please go there.
That is online that has the pictures of the visit. And that picture of Nicole Ferguson and the other girl in Sierra Leone who looks like a twin to her.
Yes. I was told that. I remember I was told that. I'm very happy to have you, and I'm looking. I really want to make it on March 1. I
hope you do.
Yes, I'm thinking more.
This is going to be authentic because if you notice what I sent, like our event is a rum-free event.
Yes.
My abeng blower does not use rum in his abeng.
And it's a pork-free event.
And it's a pork-free event because the hogs were only imported here.
Yes.
The heritage of the Maroons can't suggest that we eat pork.
No, because you have to really see yourself as African, and what we had to do to survive in certain times and in certain places. You know, that we can deal with in looking at the history. But now that we don't have to.
But rituals are important because if we do not do the proper rituals, we are stabbing our ancestors.
True.
By doing the wrong thing. Because the one other thing, that gets me to, sister, is that the way people talk about nanny. The way this nanny was like a witch doctor woman, and nanny was like this witch woman. We are not Obia people. We are sent here by the Lord, Creator God Almighty, and God said, if you have only no other God but me, I will protect you. So nanny was blessed with a thing called karamat.
Yes.
Favors from the Almighty.
All right.
Yeah.
But you know, I really must commend you on how you're revisiting the history of Africa in Jamaica and the history of the Maroons in particular. And we look forward to see what your writings will be on that, what you'll publish on that. Because
I will be. Yeah. By December, I think.
It's really good work that you're doing. And we want to be part of that. So thank you so much. So March 1, again, Flagstaff in St. James. And you start at what time?
We start at 11 for the Unity Walk. At 12:30 will be the ceremony, the civic ceremony. We'll have a flag raising.
Yes.
And so that we expect that it will continue, that flag raising will continue, and then it will attract the Governor General to revisit the community and to understand really what the community actually is, and what is his contribution historically to the history of Jamaica.
Because we have to sit down and talk.
Yes, very much.
No matter what we do, we're going to have to sit down and talk as a people.
Yes.
Identifying what has been done in the name of positions that you're occupying.
Yes.
And how to repair damage done.
Yeah. Diplomacy is better than, because we are not machete wielding warriors anymore. Yes. We are more diplomats.
But
now.
We can be too.
No, I mean, if the Fort Maroon were to come, we are ready. Yeah, but the thing is that we believe, as the ancestors does, in peace first, in proper talks.
Yenge, as they say in Congo, peace be unto you. You know. But as my brother and Profile says that we're not attacking, we're defending ourselves.
Yeah, and our Profile listening to big up in the Profile. The next night I bring me dead. I may bring something good for you.
All right, there you go. All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry that we're out of time, but let me just give you some final word from you, Mr. McGee Cosby. Maybe you just want to blow their bang for sign out. But final words, yeah.
I wanna say enough love to the family out there in Radio Land, and give thanks to this opportunity for Flagstaff Heritage Council come through this,
we look forward to being there on March 1.
March 1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Final word from you, my sister Delsha. You give a blow. Yeah, man, go ahead. Give a little sound of there, baby.
Jaliv.
All right. Final word from you, my sister Delsha.
Well, big up to Radio Land. And bless up all my family them out there. Bless Maroon Town, Flagstaff, Treaty Day, March 1st.
All right. And my brother, my father.
All of Jamaica.
Yes.
RFM, our loved ones, hard-working people who wish to help within the Chilani Town, Maroon.
And thank you for the Kenke.
One love.
Yes, making Kenke from memory. Final word from you, my brother Michael Grizzle.
Yes, it's just a great honor, and thank you very much extended to RFM family for having us here today, and for everybody in Flagstaff, Trelawney Town, Jamaica. I hope you come out and really see history in the making. This is a historical event. Come out on March 1st, Flagstaff, Trelawney Town in St. James. Just come out and be a part of this historical thing.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much from the Trelawney Town. Maroons, as we said before, March 1, we're heading to Flagstaff to be part of the activities there. Thank you to my brothers and sister coming in all the way from St. James. This is how we're going to wind things down. Thank you so much for the Kenke. Look at that. All right. Needles into... all right, okay, so I listen to this. This is mine? All right, okay. All right, just want to thank all those persons who participated in the program this morning. Walk good, travel safe, my brother. Walk good. Tell him I don't want to hold it. Yeah, man. Thank you, my sister. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so this is Maroon Things. The ganja soap. Say that again. We're not talking about the ganja soap. We'll talk about it, though. We'll talk about the products. Before March 1, I guarantee that. Walk good. Safe travel. Afro-Brazilian music was a soundtrack for the entire morning. In the wake of the Walter Rodney assassination leak, we must also ask who killed Maurice Bishop. Let me pull it down and take it up again and ask, who killed Maurice Bishop? Now that we know, now that they've told us, we always did know. So we're following the Walter Rodney story. We demand that the government of Guyana publishes the report out of a commission of inquiry into the assassination of Dr. Walter Rodney. And in the case of Walter Rodney, the finger points to Forbes Burnham, who killed Maurice Bishop. My name is Kabo Ma'at Kiru. Thanks to all those who participated in the program this morning. Thanks to Wazir Muhammad, Richard Small, Herbie Miller, Michael McDonald, Julissa Wright, Jalecia Wilson, Talia Morris, Michael Grizzle, Cosby McGee, Canute Cameron, and Delsha Peterkin. My name is Kabo Ma'at Kiru. My broadcast assistant this morning was Shamara Preston, and Vivian Stewart is at the desk. It's going to be an interesting week in Jamaica. Jamaicans go to the polls on the 25th. In the meantime, it's pure madness. Don't be a part of that. If you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, yours is the earth and everything that is in it. And what's more, you're a man, my son.
Para abrir nossos trabalhos com a bandeira de Oxalá. Pedimos licença, Sambi, ao Xum e Iemanjá, para abrir nossos trabalhos com a bandeira de Oxalá. Saravá Ogum, Saravá Gongá. Saravá Ogum, Saravá Gongá. Saravá seus sete ondas, ele é rei, é orixá. Na linha de um banda que eu quero ver Ogum sete ondas. Pisa na linha de um banda que eu quero ver Ogum beira-mar. Pisa na linha de um banda que eu quero ver Ogum Eara, Ogum Mexer, seu canjira